What is best? To learn through courses with progressive levels or courses with concepts? Well, let's find out. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to ZoukNerds. My name is Alisson Sandi, and join us for a part 2 of the interview with Leandro and Nayara, as well as with our co-hosts Gui Prada and Adayl Iost, as we discuss how amazing and innovative Leandro and Nayara's teaching methodology is and how that can apply to your students or to yourself. So, let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of ZoukNerds. In our last episode, we ended with a very interesting question from Adayl. So could you please repeat that one?
Yeah, for sure. So my question for you guys were, I think that you guys on your school that you talked about on the last episode, you have a very interesting methodology that you apply to your classes that you don't have level between classes. You don't have level on your courses. Every class is an open level class. So I would like you guys to share a little bit more about how the methodology, how do you guys make it interest for higher level people to take classes with lower level people? And also, how do you apply this methodology on your courses that you do traveling around the world, your international classes and congresses and everything like that? If you guys would like to share a little bit more about it.
Sure.
So that actually was a need that we had after pandemic, because like I said, before pandemic, we had 3 classes full. We were in that before pandemic, we used to open for new students in January, and the students, they had to wait to the next January, the new ones, to start class with us. So we didn't open any spots during the year. We would have students that sometimes they would quit the course, but we didn't open for new students in the whole year. We were doing this for 3 years. So we had 3 classes,
Because
3 different years.
our goal was creating an immersion with them the whole year, not just create a group and then keep open to everybody jumping.
And that was a progressive course.
Yeah.
We really love that. But now, after pandemic, we had to learn new ways to do it because we had 100 students. At least when we start again, only 30 students would be back.
Yeah.
So in those 30 students, they were from different levels, different classes. So what we did, we figured out that the students that would come back, they didn't want the same thing. So some of them were there because they want to compete. Some of them were learning because they want to social dance or socialize. And some of them, they want to improve their own styling. So followers, they want
to express more themselves.
Yeah, they want styling. Leaders, they want to do footwork. So we had mainly those 3 interests. So we decided to open 3 courses with 3 different interests. We said, this is social dance class, this is performance class, and this is a styling class. So we would have a base, structure of Zouk, musicality, and teamwork, connection.
All of those 3 courses.
That was the similarity. So all those courses would have the same base, but then we would do, for example, a simple turn. When you do a simple turn in the social, you have to learn more about floor craft, connection, all those things. When you were doing a simple turn in a Jack and Jill, you also have to work on those things, but you have to think about your posture, your engagement, your lines, or how
direction.
Where is the judge? So you will have to think on different things to do the same movement. That was our goal. We started those 3 classes, almost the same content, but applying different approaches for different interests.
In the styling class, we would teach urban Zouk, for example.
So then they
not
would
just
do
solo.
A simple turn, but with 4 different footworks. And the followers would do the simple turn with doing different arm styling. Some students, they were taking more than one of those classes. And the idea came because I studied psychology of learning. I'm doing my master's in PUC in Brazil. One class I was watching, we had this problem with the students that they would come back. We were trying to see how we could make it work. And then I was taking this class, and the teacher are saying that the new methodology in the new schools, they are maybe considering not dividing people by like age or levels in the normal schools. And the studies are showing that when you have a diverse class, you have more people collaborating. And the atmosphere, the vibe in the class, it's more similar to how the world really is. So when you are in the first series of your studies, you're going to have people in your age, people probably watching the same TV shows, probably. So you have a bubble over the people that you were staying with most part of your day. They have only one perspective of the same thing. And doing this in normal schools, they see that they are bringing not just the content, but also they are bringing their life experience and sharing, and they are learning more than just the content. So I thought that was super interesting. And I bring the idea to Leandro, who's like, oh, this is going to be tough for us.
Because we had to learn more.
And they are not starting from the same point.
Yeah.
So we have to cover those gaps for them, because we don't want them to feel, oh, this person knows more than me and I shouldn't be here. Or the other one, I'm not motivated because the class. Yeah. So that was the challenge for us. And
the other thing that we implemented in our school was the student would pay a pack of 5 classes, and then they could decide it. They could be responsible for their learning, not just going there and then learning what we would teach. But every month we would share all the topics, like 30 topics.
So imagine like a congress, like a festival, when they receive the spreadsheet with the topic. This is how we used to do in our school. So in the first day of the month, they would receive the schedule with all the topics.
Like spins, counterbalance, blah, 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 blah,
yeah. And they could decide which one they want to go. Also, in our experience, we noticed that being an adult, it's important you to take the responsibility for your learning, not just go there and, oh, teacher's going to teach me. And if you take the responsibility, if you make decisions, if you make your choice, 50% of the learning is you, 50% is your teacher. Actually, 100% is you and 100% is your teacher. So that was the idea. We were like, oh, we want to do this. This is beautiful. This is an amazing philosophy. But when we went to the classroom to make it happen, that was very challenging.
Yeah. And then working on that, like for 1 year, we could be more aware of the way that people learn, to find their goals, look at them in a different way, not just as a student to track them their path, but as a person, to read their person.
Yeah, to be more aware of like, oh, when someone is about to give up, to pay attention to the signs. But also we could do that because our class, after pandemic, we had 5, 7, 10 people in each class. It was a very small group. So we could learn from them, and now we have 5 steps in every class. And
then we created those 5 steps to implement in the workshops, weekenders, and...
Yeah, we use for every class. So now we feel more comfortable to do the same in classes with 3 people. We feel more comfortable to apply the same idea.
The 5 steps that we have is not at every time in the same order, but we do warm up, where we prepare their bodies to do something that we're gonna work on the class, and we do proposal. That's the second step for us.
We are gonna share with them the goal, so we are gonna involve them in the process. So this is what I want to teach you. The reason that I want to teach that is that one, and we want to go together to that point. So we bring them to that. So they are part of the plan, and they want to help us together.
We prepare the environment.
Yeah, so we share the why. And the
third is the lab.
So in the lab,
when they really are trying to do and just searching for different possibilities.
In the third, we still bring like small exercise, the drills.
Yeah.
And this is when we are going to put the focus in one small point. And we're going to work on this little piece for maybe more than one drill, but we are going to work separately.
Yeah.
The 4 is when we say the experience. So we are going to apply the experimentation. We're going to apply the drill in the real Zouk. Because I went to a few classes sometimes, and I taught a few classes sometimes when I just taught the drill, and they were like, oh, this is amazing. They left the class. They had no idea how to apply this in their dance, and this is just gone. So we decided to put this together. So we bring this drill to the real experience, the Zouk experience.
That was those 4 steps.
This is the pillars.
Yes.
The 5th one, it's the one that we noticed. We put this later because that was the one that we bring the motivation for the ones that feel they are already good at that. So that we call the improvement. So the class almost ends in the 4th. The
class is done at that point. Then when we see that they are getting there, we share something more, like a small challenge. Sometimes this improvement could be for the whole group, or sometimes we just share with some students.
Yeah.
We say that for them, now try in this way, now in this way, this way.
Yeah. So everybody feels normally if everything goes well, because sometimes we know that. But if everything goes well, normally they feel good in the 4th step. They feel, oh, I made it. I arrived here, I made it. But then the improvement, it's a challenge that we're going to push them more. Some of them, when we see that the whole group arrived in the 4th step well, we bring something for all of them.
Yeah.
When we feel that it's not, we're going to maybe share with all of them the same, because we want all of them in the same page, but with specific feedbacks.
And sometimes when we feel that the group is in the same page, but the perfect step for them is just to the 4th step, we share the improvement in the recap, for example. There's some improvement in the recap.
Like inspiration for, oh, you could try this too. Also, when we noticed before, when we used to have this feeling of, oh, the class is too boring, because when we do this methodology, we work in small pieces. We are not working on fancy patterns. The drill is the most important part of the class. So the technique behind. So sometimes we were feeling that the class was boring, or we were not bringing something new. So then in the improvement, we were trying to bring something new, completely out of the box, and it didn't work. So the improvement has to be something related to the things that they built. So we are building up together, and it can be just change position, or it can be
the
maybe
density of in their bodies. Could be,
or maybe
many things.
a most advanced pattern, but it's always according to the things that they did before. Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Let me take a moment to digest, because as you guys were talking here, I was trying to make a mind map diagram of how all of this works, because it's so unique and so amazing. Yes, I have so many questions, but I can't bring anything to the front. Do you have anything, Gui or Adayl?
Yes, no, I have something. First, it's so amazing to see the diversity of methodology that being exposed here. This is a new one for me, in the sense of you guys have a clear step-by-step process that you guys follow in most of your classes, and it's super good. It feels very inspiring to me that you try the thing, and it's a little bit of trial and error. You try and, oh, we need to put this thing here, and then you put the thing. Oh, we need to do this other thing here. Oh, this other thing didn't work. Let's take this thing out. So I love that it's a experiential process that you learn about what works and what doesn't work on the fly. Like you have the idea, oh, it's gonna be amazing. Then you're gonna go and try, like, nope, actually we did this other thing. Yes, I found it so beautiful. I hope that everybody that is listening, people that teach, people that want to teach, take a moment to appreciate this sharing that just happened, because I think it's really incredible and valuable for everyone to hear that you get that experience as you do, as you try. Because I can see that you guys are trying to bring a couple of specific things. You want to bring diversity to the teaching, to the learning environment by bringing people of different ages and different levels. That's incredible. And also incorporate a way of teaching that everybody from different levels can learn at the same time. Yeah, and still get something out of it. I think this is one of the hardest things to do. So very incredible. I'm really curious now to go there and witness this process a couple of times, actually, because I feel curious about
progression, for example, in this methodology, in this way of creating the teaching flow, how do you guys think, or how do you guys project what is the blueprint of the progression for the students in this methodology of open level?
So we literally draw like a tree. Follow me. So what I did was we started to draw it like a tree. So I put in the top of the tree, I wrote a topic that I want to share. For example, toalha. And I want to teach them toalha. So in this topic, I'm going to write 3 lines and draw 3 different boxes under this one. So in this 3 boxes, I'm going to write what they need to know to do toalha. So on the first one, I will put, let's suppose, circular head movement. In the second, I will put like frame. And the third, I will put
balance.
Yeah, balance, footwork. And then I will write again 3 lines and 3 boxes. And now footwork, what they need to footwork. Understanding where is their weight over their foot. And I will do this big tree to every topic. I'm going to write 3 different boxes and the 3 different things they need to the next topic. Because one big mistake that we made for years in our classes, we learned from our mistake, is to teach too much. More than they can take it. And also sometimes they can take it, but they were not practicing what they were learning. And many of our students, they were getting very frustrated, thinking that they were not good enough because they knew a lot and they couldn't do that, but they were not practicing doing that. They were practicing their minds only. And part of this was our phone. So by drawing this big picture, we understand these little pieces. And then from here, we draw the path. We start from here.
Yes. And also we decided to change the vertical way to teach, because we used to teach more in a vertical way. So that's the first step, second step, you're going to build up. And then we start teaching more in a horizontal plane, which is more open. And then you have many different paths. It's like a spider net. Yes, you are in the center.
A web.
Yes, and then you are aware of everything at the same time. And then you can decide what you want to work now, but doesn't mean that you are not good at the other thing. Because what I see, from my perspective as a student and also as a teacher, when we were teaching more in a vertical way, people were replacing the piece in their Lego. You know what I mean? They were replacing it. They would build up again. They were getting very frustrated. But now, once you can see around everything work, everything, you are building a Lego here, other there. Okay, that makes sense. Now.
So the main core of our methodology today, it's what we call baseline. We use our body in a very neutral way. Neutral. We don't put a styling. We have our body. For us, we keep the function and the essence of Zouk. So we still working on projection, controlling, grounding. We're still working on all the structures that Zouk has, the universal things. But we clean it up to the most neutral way. Yeah. And we can go to all the other ways, knowing where's the baseline and coming back. So we
always come back to the baseline where we have the same activation of our muscles, and then we don't waste time or we don't waste power, for example. We usually say that we have 2 boxes. The default box, which is more neutral, stepping the same size between our steps. And we have the variation box, which you can step bigger the first step, the second step, or the third step, and then you can go up and down. So in this way, we clean it up a lot, our dance and our methodology.
And answering your question, so this baseline, we teach, no matter what we are teaching, this baseline, this neutral line we teach, because this is the core for us.
And this baseline is not based on Zouk, it's based on anatomy.
Yeah.
Like the alignment of the joints, muscles, and
gravity, and
those nerd things.
You know better than us.
Well, we are in the right place to talk about it, and we can talk about it forever.
That's true. Super true. It's super interesting because I think when we try to make things easier and streamlined for the students, we might get to the same or very similar conclusions. What you guys were calling like the baseline, I call it the neutral, where you're executing the core piece of the movements and then you add more or less rotation in the upper body, more or less rotation in the hip. You go up, you go down, make it big, make it small. So it's very similar. And it's something that we realized in practice when, for example, we would teach bonus. We would teach the bonus in 15 minutes, but then we would see that we spend the last whole hour in the patinha because the students were trying to do the wish thing with their hips for the patinha. And then actually the core thing they learned, but they got stuck in the patinha. So let's take the wish thing of the hip away. Let's just do a rock step and life goes on. And then boom, problem solved.
Yeah, and it's crazy because we were in Hawaii and someone mentioned that, oh, Gui always dance in a very neutral way, but I saw he competing in a Jack and Jill one and he did so many crazy stuff and it was so nice. And then we said to this person, we said, we didn't talk to Gui about his methodology yet. We never had the opportunity to. But what I see from our perspective is that he has this baseline that we call baseline. And I think he's most of the time in his baseline, but his body is ready to do everything because he's in the baseline. So it's nice to talk to you about this.
And the point for me was, I was made in the variation box.
Yeah, urban Zouk style.
I came from urban Zouk. So styling, it's very easy for me. Footwork, crazy stuff, a lot of things. But the baseline, damn, it was my nightmare.
And actually, when we were in Brazil, and I remember one friend of us that was traveling first, once he called us and he said, I talked to people about you, but some people told us that they cannot see the basics, they cannot see the instruction in your dance. So it's hard to bring you.
It was just variation.
Yeah. And that was a game changing also for us when we realized that. We said, wow, we have to change.
And that was a little bit before we opened our school.
Yeah. So when I went to Alisson's class in District Zouk months ago, and we were doing basic steps for 45 minutes almost, and you were like saying to your students, let's do reverse turn with the head motion in that place and that. I was completely lost. I was looking and Alice was trying to help me. He was like blinging like this, do the big turns. In that class, I think I talked to you, Adayl, right? I said, oh, he does something so interesting because the students, they know.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they are doing, piece by piece. And I think also now we are trying to implement this more to break everything down in small pieces and make them understand what they are doing.
Yeah.
And I love your class. I love that 45 minutes doing that. My students in Brazil, they would kick us.
Sure. That's a really interesting way to see the culture. So here you have this kind of students. In Europe, it's different. In Brazil, if you spend more than 5 minutes in a warm-up,
I don't know, maybe.
For example, it's very interesting.
What's this for you guys? How can you make them do it?
It's changing a lot now. I got a lot of inspiration from Alisson, for sure. When he came to DC and the warm-ups were like 15 minutes long, and I did the warm-ups, and like you, Nayara, I was like, what the hell is going on? So like, I need to do this thing more. So we got this inspiration from him, and then we started extending the warm-ups. And I think it was just by doing them more often, and people got used to it, because now I call it Zouk Fit. I call it Zouk Fit, and it's a whole workshop on itself. Like the person sees in the schedule, Zouk Fit, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And it's just that, and people really like it. People really, really like it. Some people say, oh, that was my favorite part. Because it's a moment of challenge for everybody, and a moment that everybody from all levels perceive that there's something there that they can work with. So that's how it is for me now, Alisson. How was it for you?
I mean, it's interesting because For me, it was a very natural process. It all happened because the students were not practicing, right? I was teaching my classes, do the warm-up, 1 or 2 songs, do a bit of body movement, do a bit of footwork, and you start the class. And I was teaching progressive courses of 8 weeks or sometimes 4 weeks. And you come back the following week and you try to go for a quick revision of last week so we can move on. That quick revision was another class again, because the students either didn't have the time to practice or didn't have the discipline to practice, whatever there was. So I was like, you know what? Sure, you guys don't practice on your own. I'm going to make you practice with me. So then my warm-up started going for like 10 minutes and then 15 minutes. And most of the times it's like 15 minutes, but you came to one of the team trainings. So at District Zouk, we have a couple of teams who are a select group of people that we audition to be part of this training team, which is ongoing basically, or seasonal. Sometimes we do it for 6 months, sometimes we go for no end. And that's the one that you came to. That's why it was like a 45 minutes. That team is very used to, at the very least, 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. But the reason for me was because when I trained for choreographies or trained for competition, I had this very strong mindset from one of my coaches. She is a competitive ballroom dancer from Europe that lives in Australia, and I used to train ballroom with her, not for any other reason than just my own training, because I was always teaching, and I was like, I need something that feeds me back, feeds my nerd, that makes me feel challenged. And I was in this very small town in Australia, so I didn't have access to a lot of Brazilian dancing because I was the only one teaching. So anyway, I went into ballroom and you have to audition to take private lessons with her. I was lucky enough that I had a friend who cut me in and she gave me a 15 minutes test class. So then after this 15 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half. So we started doing an hour and a half class. And most of the students don't even get to dance with her for the first 6 months of private classes. You just dance solo. The entire training is solo because she is competitive in a world level in terms of like she does Blackpool in the UK for ballroom. She's like, I cannot afford to dance with students who will affect my training. I spend 8 hours a day training to compete internationally. I have to not be interfered in the body because ballroom is very different. That doesn't apply to ours. Because for us, the more variations and the more influences, the better. We become better leaders and better followers. But one thing that I took from that was that she always said, I don't like when teachers say it's 50-50 leader and follower. It's 100 and 100, and both of you create another 100. So that kind of like combines with why do I love so much the solo training? Why do I do so much? And then it became almost a branding thing. People always talk about it. Oh, if you're going to Alisson's workshop or boot camp or something, just make sure you don't miss the warm-up. You have to be there. And people who are used to coming to my classes a warm-up, you can see them in a congress. They're already waiting. They're like, oh, I'm here for your warm-up. I'm here for your warm-up. Mm-hmm. They don't care about the class. It's just that part. And I love that because for me, honestly, I just love drilling so much because nothing for me in my dancing has ever come natural. Nothing. So I've always been a 2 left feet, 3 left feet, 5 left feet. I had to do 1,000 times before I felt like, oh, I can do this without thinking, which is a whole nother topic. But that's the reason why I spend so much time in it. And it's not that we force our students, but I guess we are lucky enough to be in a community and in a demographic in Washington, D.C. that fits that type of student because it's a very academic, techie, smart city. So I think the students that gravitate to our school, they already come with that mentality of oh, I want to go to District Zouk because they really take it slow, because they really break things down, and their students are very safe, and their students are very friendly, and they like to work hard. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's something that would work anywhere, but we're very lucky in District Zouk and in Washington, D.C. that our students really love that.
Yeah, in my experience, it works everywhere. Everywhere I go,
Yeah, I
and we
think so.
do, and Zouk Fit is there. People are like, people are game for it. And I'm actually thinking of doing it as a thing, like that people just go for it and go home. Like, people confuse Zumba with Zouk and Zouk with Zumba so much that let's just make Zoukumba. You just go there, 45 minutes, do your footwork, do your solo things, go home and be happy. You know, because I think it's incredible and the effects of it are amazing over time. Like, we could see the effects over time in our students. I remember Kaká one time came to teach our teams, our people, and then she was doing the warm-up with like things that she thought would trick them, but they were not tricked at all. They're just like, just another Tuesday. And then, you know, because they got used to dancing in half time, dancing double time, change direction, going around, going from the back, going from the front, you know, so super, super incredible thing that I highly recommend.
So bringing back to you guys being in Florida, in Miami, how was that transition for you guys to move from São Paulo to Miami? That's the first question. How was that transition? And the second question is, how was that transition and adaptation to the local market and students and what they're used to in terms of what they get from the classes? Did you guys have to reinvent your methodology again?
I think we had to reinvent when we went to the first tour in Europe, because that was actually the first time that we were not teaching Brazilians and we were not teaching in our native language. Actually, first time we traveled, Leandro didn't speak at all. Our first class in English, he was not understanding what I was teaching. So that was big. And my English was not good. We are still improving, but yeah. I think that was a big challenge.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah.
And I would say to Nayara, just tell them what they should do, and I will show them.
Yeah.
So I cannot speak, but I can show with my body.
And we are teaching something that we are showing. So instead of saying, place your right leg in front of your right, I would say, do like this. So Leandro say, don't do that. You say, I do it. Oh, it was a mess. But I think also the language barrier and also the culture experience. We went to Europe and we spent most of the time in German. German is an amazing place to teach. I love teaching there. But the culture is in many ways opposite of the culture in Brazil. When we talk about learning, going to a place to learn.
Yeah.
That was one point that we had to adjust a lot.
Yes. And also we get the feedback from some professionals like, no, your class is too boring. You should teach a fancy movement. You should teach something different.
Yeah, they said that we were sharing too much concepts and we should share more, at least in Congress, because we developed this whole thing in our school, like small pieces and technique. Yeah. When we traveled, we weren't in that mood.
Another thing is our classes were always 90 minutes.
In Brazil.
To teach in a Congress, it's like 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were...
and that we had to adjust this feeling of being faster. Instead of having the opportunity to be with one student and talk about their feelings, we had to be aware and try to catch the whole vibe instead of individual vibe. And of course, we have feedbacks and we are adjusting classes all the time. We still do that. But now it's more general and we have to be faster to do that. Also, I think for me, for example, in Brazil, a teacher that teaches children how to write and read is not the same teacher that is going to teach a course in a college. And it's not the same teacher that is going to teach high school. And us, we don't talk much about that. But we should talk because people expect us to be a good teacher at weekenders, a great teacher at private, a great teacher at Congress and the online class and mentor. And we are trying to be there. But we do that. We treat this normally. And we have to lead and we have to follow and we have to dance lambada and we have to dance zouk. And we have to explain the difference in lambada and zouk every time. We don't mind. We love that. But it is a very hard job that sometimes we don't talk about, because if you transfer this to any other teacher, to any other thing, it's not the same.
We are always open to adapt and to change and to transform our methodology. And here in Miami, we have the Paulo and Luisa's school. They have season course with 2 months. And then sometimes we teach those courses. But we teach they have a curriculum. So we follow the curriculum.
Yeah, here in Zouk United, they have 2 ways to do it. They have the curriculum for newcomers, which is the basic steps, the structures of Zouk. And after that, they have specific course, for example, head movement, but nobody can do the other ones without knowing the first steps. So after taking this course, you can choose and go to the other one.
Even though we follow their curriculum, we follow our methodology.
Yeah, and it is really nice here because they have the topics that you have to teach, but we don't have to teach of course, we have to talk the same language, but we are free to teach this in our way. And also we have a specific course. For example, we taught the Jack and Jill course, we taught the musicality course, and those courses, it's all ours. So we can also decide what we're going to teach. Yeah, so that the Miami vibe, for me, the US, it's like many different countries in the same country.
Mm-hmm.
So here, what I feel is that maybe it's more similar to what we have in São Paulo. We have a lot of Brazilians here in the Zouk scene, but also it's the Latin vibes. And I think here in general, not everyone, of course, but it's more like party vibes. So they really want to party. And they learn in classes, but they want to learn to party. Yeah. And we went to a few Zouk scenes where people will be very interested in taking classes, but the students, sometimes they don't go to the socials because they prefer to take classes.
Yeah. Here, the socials are always amazing.
Amazing, like full. And they have weekly socials now. Sometimes in Miami, they have 2 parties happening the same day, just like São Paulo. So we have to adjust, but also keeping the things that we believe that we want to share at the same time. How sure about this adjusting not only according to the culture, but adjusting according to the type of class that you were teaching?
I feel, especially being the regular teacher in 3 different completely scenes in the US, it feels very interesting to gauge that sensation that you guys are talking about on learning how to x-ray the students and see what the community is asking for and not necessarily what we want to teach them. I think that's the most interesting part because, for example, Denver, Colorado in general, they're a more fusion, more nature vibe that they bring to their dance, that if you go with the mentality of super high technique, not necessarily you're gonna appease most of the crowd. Of course, I think it's our job to start introducing those things to them, but you also need to get the crowd first on that sense. In Seattle, for example, it's a very high technique scene that they focus a lot on. We're gonna do these classes and we're gonna learn and we're gonna ask all the questions, and it's pretty similar to what we see here in DC. And thinking of this structure, it feels very interesting, as you guys said, coming from Brazil, that I feel like it's party vibe all the time, even if the students are still trying to learn, but it's very, we want to social every day. And you guys mentioned, for example, São Paulo, we have 2-3 socials every day in different places. And they're all full, all crowded. And people are dancing on the metro, and people are dancing on Avenida Paulista, and it's crazy. People want to dance. So adapting these structures to what the scene needs, it's a very interesting topic. And coming to the CNC, what Alisson was doing and what Gui left before he went to his international tour, and these adaptations of both of them, what they brought to the scene, feels very, very interesting on how to apply everything and how to bring to my own teaching for the students.
So I come from Jaime Arocha, né? His school was the thing that shaped a lot of the way that I see teaching dance. And one thing that he used to say was that the student will show interest for what you show interest. The student will show excitement for what you show excitement. So I go about this when I go teach anywhere in the world. There is an adaptation on the amount of content and pacing. The pacing of the class changes a lot. Like you guys are saying, we realized we were packing too much stuff in not so much time. And this is a realization that I had too, only by trying and feeling things out in a regular class environment, teaching every week, realizing, man, our curriculum is very crowded. We need space, we need to stretch out. Because like Alisson was saying, people don't practice outside of class most of the time. And unlike Miami, which I think is, people play that the Florida is Brazilian 28 states. Brazil has 27 states in Brazil, and the 28th one is Florida. So the party vibes, in my view, puts people in that situation where they have many opportunities to practice, to dance. They want to dance, they are crazy about it. So the learning is so different than in places where people dance less. The adaptations, I think, are related to how much time people actually have to dance. So we dedicate more or less time in class for people to dance in class. In terms of content, I don't change what I'm going to teach very much. It's mostly the pacing and how much of that content that I'm going to teach, mostly because I am with this idea, when I'm going to teach something, I want to show enough excitement to see if people can feel that and also be excited about what I'm about to share.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think in terms of content, we can pretty much share the same content doing the crazy long warm-ups anywhere. But what I always try to be sensitive is how people learn and what people gravitate to. In the first workshop, the first time I'm going to that city and that community, that first workshop is very much trying and improvising as much as possible and seeing what sticks and what people go like, wow, yes, I understand. Like going a little deeper on certain topics and seeing which one that they feel excited about, and then doing my best for the rest of the weekend to match what I experienced on that first workshop. You have to be quick on your feet. You have to be very quick on your feet. And the experience of having so many inconsistent groups and inconsistent classes, inconsistent attendances actually can make you a much better teacher than if you always have the same students all the time, or if you're always traveling and never having a consistent group of students, because there is also that big difference between teachers who went from being great dancers into teachers traveling around the world, and teachers who really started doing their job at schools and teaching students, and because of that work, they started traveling the world. It's a big difference. Great dancer, international teacher, great teacher, international teacher. But again, another topic, another day that maybe we can have you guys back to talk about.
Yeah, and just complementing that commentary real quick, I think talking to you and Christina when you guys were in Germany this past time is the same sensation that I have when I was in Germany the first time. that having that social awareness that we are not used to in coming to a class for the first time, and you see, I hope they don't understand me wrong, but you see all of them like ice cold on the class. There's not a warmth coming up, and we have that sensation of, are we doing a good job? Are they liking our class? Are they liking our music? What is going on? And then after the class, everybody comes in like, oh, that was such a great class. I love your teaching and everything. And you're like, and Christina even commented that she's like, where was this during class? It was not here. And then how you adapt to that to understand your own mindset, that you're still doing a good job, even though the response is not what you're expecting, the expectations of the response, right?
Let me get this. So before my first tour, it was here that my first tour, I realized that we could have this cultural shocks. And I bought this book here. It's The Culture Map is the name. I didn't finish completely, but I really like the things that I started. So maybe if you're a teacher or if you're traveling or if you want to learn more about the cultures, this could be a good tip. There's only an English version, but what is interesting here is a person that prepares like big CEOs of companies to meetings to talk to each other. For example, a Japanese person and a Mexican person talking, they will expect maybe, because as humans, we are really, really good. We learn this since we are babies. We learn how to read reactions, the face reactions, the face expressions. The humans in general are really good at that. So we can read this wrong if you don't have the information about how the other culture works or how they express themselves. So this book is really nice. I bought this before our first tour, and it compares cultures in different situations. Of course, people are different, but in general, I think it's a very nice thing to understand.
Super nice recommendation.
That's a really good tip on that. I want to bring back the subject that we talked on the last episode, and this episode just sprinkles it in. But I want you guys to tell us how Jack and Jill's changed your perspective on your international career, and how it changed the scene perspective of you guys on your international career. Because we're here in front of a champion, first place 8 times in a row, feat that is hard to beat. How that some people still view, and they are totally fine, it's their perspective, view the Jack and Jill's as a more segregation thing that separates people on the socials and brings a different vibe for an event. On your guys' perspective, that you guys have your champions training and you have Leandro especially on this career based on the Jack and Jill experience, how do you guys feel that contribute to your international career, to contribute to what you guys are doing now and doing in Miami and the US in general?
I think the game changing for us was in 2019. The Espaço 3D start bringing the Jack and Jill vibes in São Paulo. But their Jack and Jill is not the same rules as BZ. So in their Jack and Jill, they have performance as part of the score. And then you have to do something not crazy, but you have to do something different. Not just dance and your basic and everything. So
not just because basic and technique super hard.
Yes, but there it's like just.
Yeah.
Not just. So I used to compete there and creating a lot of different stuff. And now, so I used to have a note in my phone called special tricks, like punch in the air, jumping, or Michael Jackson styling. I don't know, something like that. I used to create this, be more focused on creating those things because I was thinking about the performance. And then when I was going to compete in Europe, it was completely different, the vibe, because it was a BCDC Jack and Jill, and I would see the people dancing in the social in a very different way. Because again, nothing compared to the competitive scene in São Paulo. And then when I saw the novice division, when I saw the guys who was competing in the intermediate, I was, oh my God, this is very, very different.
And the idea of like earning points and then you can pass to the next level. It's not about your curriculum. It's about how many points you make in that competition. And
I'm so sorry, but usually when we were seeing people winning an advanced Jack and Jill, when I was watching their video, just that. How about the jumping? What about the performance?
Yeah, we used to think that it was simple.
It was simple, yes. That's how was our vision. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then I started learning the rules. That was the game changing for us. Because then we could bring more the foundations for our dance to really change in a more, I think, deeper, the Brazilian Zouk culture.
Deeper understanding.
Yes, deeper understanding. It changed our dance a lot.
Totally.
Total. And then I changed my mind. So my goal was perform. My goal was
like show off.
I was trying to say with my dance like this. Hey, look at me. Look at me now. Look what I can do. And after that, my intention in my dance, it's other intention. So my intention nowadays is more, hey, you can do this. I want to inspire people. That's my really goal nowadays. So once I know the rules, I know everything about competition. So now my goal is going there and create like a movie with my partner. I want to create a story with my partner, with that partner in that day, that mood, that floor, that event, that song. So it's being able and open to create something new all the time, which is our social dance, right? And before I was more thinking about, okay, now I have to put that clothes, I have to put that shirt, I was more like, let's go. Not just, I'm trying to be there. When I get nervous, because I always get nervous, of course, I go to my corner and then I try to create connection with my roots, with our culture, with our whole experience, and then, okay, I'm here again. So nowadays, I'm more here than look at me or let's go.
Yeah.
I think that's what the game changing.
Yeah, I think for me it's a little bit different because I was not much in the mood of competition before. It changed for me when my students, they were competing, and one of the students, he said, I want to see you doing what you teach us to do. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do this for you. So I was always competing there for them. And when I started to compete here or in the Jack and Jill, the Jack and Jill brings the idea of improvising and connection. And this is something that I personally really like. I think about Jack and Jill as an opportunity to test all the things that I learned, because I never know what is the song, what is the partner, how it's going to be. So the statistics show me that it's, for me, it's one of the hardest competitions because it's a lot of things that you cannot control. So it's good for me to test all my skills at the same time. How am I going to react in that situation? And try again. For example, I really love Alisson's class and the structures because I saw that, I don't know how long they are doing this with you. I know they are more advanced, but maybe 2-3 years. And I remember when I was dancing for 3 years, I didn't know the basics. I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And I think Jack and Jill brings us this bar for all of us, not just. So I improved this when I was advanced already, using Jack and Jill as a tool. But Jack and Jill is there for the novice to use the same tool, to learn about their basics, to improve their basics and their structures. So I wish I could have learned these things before. And one other I love Jack and Jill. So another perspective that I think competition brings to us is that some people think Brazilian Zouk, it's a Brazilian thing, that it's developed in Brazil. And being in Brazil for a long time, And I saw that actually Zouk was also developed abroad. It was also developed in Australia, in the US, in Europe. It's not just us, the Brazilians or the Brazilian people that are in Brazil that are the responsible for growing the scene, bringing new things. This is a new dance for all of us, comparing to others' dance. So we are all together building this dance. We're all together. No matter where you are, your nationality, what your level, the way that you behave, the way that you compete, the way that you treat your dance, the way that you train, it's building how the scene is, how the dance is. I think Europeans maybe being more aware of studying the basics and all those things, and the teachers that went to Europe to do that, adjusting their teaching to these people, and then going back to Brazil, changed also the way that we learn and teach in Brazil.
Yeah.
And it all the way around. So I think Jack and Jill is, for me, one way to put the whole world, because it's an international competition, maybe trying to talk the same language or trying to look at the same thing. When people say to me, oh, but I don't like people judging me. My perspective is people are judging you all the time, no matter if you are a teacher or not. People are judging you. If you are a teacher, it's even worse, because when you are teaching your class in a congress, the students, they are like, oh, let me see if they are good, or if I'm going to take privates with this teacher or the other teacher. So students are also judging. So we are all being judged. The only difference for me is that in Jack and Jill, I can see my scores and I can ask feedback.
There's also one more thing that I've heard a lot from people is, oh, Jack and Jill now is about performance. So people now is doing things, and the judges, they are looking for this and everything. So I think Jack and Jill is about social dance. You being a good social dancer. But the point is, if you take a moment in the social, step off the stage, and then look at the crowd, you're gonna see everybody doing a lot of things, a lot of different things. Because that's the lab moment where everybody gets inspired by the song and the environment and the vibe, the part. But people who can bring that vibe to the Jack and Jill shines more, because you don't get so nervous. So it's not because we are looking for that. We are not looking for performance. We are looking for the social dance.
In the high level.
Yes, the high level, or in a natural level that we can find in the social. And if I can share one tip for you guys as a student or as a competitor, first of all, set up your goals. Set up your goals and say the truth for yourself. That's the first point, because we have a student, for example, he said to us, I don't want to compete. I don't care about how I look. Okay. And then we were working other things. And then he went to a competition. He placed last. He didn't make finals. And then he was very frustrated. And we were, no, you are not preparing yourself for that. You are doing other things. And then my point is, first, set up your goals. Second, find a mentor. Find a mentor. And the second thing, find a group. Don't find a group to just, no, that's my intermediate group. That's my advanced group. That's my group. No, do classes. So take classes. That's the perfect way to practice for Jack and Jill, for example, because you have diversity on that. And then again, find a mentor. Ask your teacher or your mentor, who are their mentors? That's a good way to get inspired by from the teachers of your teacher. And then you can keep going deeper in art. Think more about dance, not just as a piece like Jack and Jill or Zouk, but more. Learning more, get inspired for more things out of Zouk.
And I think for us, it doesn't make any sense. I really never passed through that, but I heard that people are really like, oh, what is your level in Jack and Jill? Let me see if I can dance with you in the social. I didn't actually see anybody doing that in front of me, but that story is so crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Probably no one went to dance to at least the first moment that like when the people decided to dance, I want to dance. The first moment, I'm pretty sure that nobody went to the dance to dance with people that dance good. I think they went to the dance floor at the first time to have fun, to enjoy, to socialize, to overcome things of their lives. So it doesn't make sense.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I wanted to say something about that really quick, because I find really interesting what you guys are saying. Is super fascinating. Your perspective and how you guys see this topic. My experience with it has been slightly different, mostly because I am here in Asia right now, for example, and then I travel to Japan and Korea and even in Australia and New Zealand, and the perception of the Jack and Jill has in these other places, because a bit just further away, and the cultural aspects of each of these places place the Jack and Jill sometimes a different part of people's mentality on how they perceive the dancers who are competing. So I had 2 instances in which the local organizers, the local community leaders asked, Gui, do you think I need to win Jack and Jills in order to be an instructor? And the other question was, do you think I need to place, do you think I need to compete at all to gain the respect of my students? Because sometimes it happened a couple of times in this place, some of these places I've been, that when the instructor competed and he did not place or she did not place finals, they lost students. And in some of the places here, for me, it's a little bit crazy that people go to the social and just want to dance with the best people. In some situations, that unfortunately is the case. And then in some situations, we have people that are known for that. So sometimes I get into a place and the local organizer tell me, oh, there is this group of people, there is this person here that normally just dance with the fancy dancers, with the advanced dancers. So fortunately, this happens in some places of the world. And this can be a discussion for 5 more episodes because I also had a conversation about that with Larissa, for example, with Kadu, especially after the festival in Taiwan. So it's a really interesting, fascinating topic for me because of how much that has been shaping and changing and driving sometimes some of the communities and the Brazilian Zouk dance community as a whole. So I loved hearing what you guys were saying. I find it super interesting. I think it was super interesting for other people to listen to your guys' perspective and your guys' point of view and seeing the beautiful parts and the inspiring parts and the positive parts of competing and the amazing things that it can bring.
Yes, that's awesome. I do have one more questions before I let you guys go. I would love to hear, what would you say very quickly, maybe just a couple of lines for people who want to get to the next level? What should they focus on and what is the path that they should follow? Not in Jack and Jill, in a professional career. From students to teachers to international teachers. How would you recommend and train and coach somebody to get to that level?
I don't think there's only one way. I think Leandro and I, we did the opposite way. So I started thinking about being a teacher, and I am pretty sure that I went to few places that, comparing to the other professionals that were in the same place that I was, they were way better dancers than me, and I wasn't not in that level yet. And I'm pretty sure that I was there because I was a good teacher at that moment. So I don't think there's only one way. Leandro, on the other hand, he developed his dance before developing his teaching. And I think there are 3 very important pillars in dance, in a professional dancer, which is your artist, your performer, your teacher, and also your social dance. That's not exactly the same. Social dance and how you are as a person in this in social environment. And I think we should think about developing those 3 things. I don't think there's only one order, but I think our partnership works well because we are different too. Because if I was just me being a good teacher, I would be a great teacher, maybe in Brazil still in my school, which is not a problem. But if you want to be international dancer, you need invitations, so you need that people appreciate your dance, not only students, but also organizers and other teachers, other professionals. I think it's important to develop a good relation and a respectful relationship with other professionals. This way, at least for me, having a friendship with some professionals, it also helped us to develop our dance because we were sharing feedbacks or learning together, and it improved my dance too.
Yeah.
And so I think those things are important. How do you think?
I think for me, we have something that we call 5 pillars of connection. So the first connection for us, the most important, is individual connection. So in this pillar, for example, that's the pillar that you can level up all the time because it's your own responsibility being charged with your awareness. So I think first of all, you have to, again, set up your goals and adjust your expectations. I know it's hard to don't have expectations, but that's my biggest advice ever. Try to do things with no expectation. Do from the bottom of your heart. For example, if you are a teacher and you are expecting your students to learn from you, that's my thought. You are not really doing from the bottom of your heart. Because if you are just a channel between the art and your student, you should just keep being this channel. You don't have to stop in the middle and ask things or judge things or judge yourself, for example. It's going to make you get frustrated and then you're going to stop dancing. So keep being able and open to learn from everyone, everywhere, every time. Ask not because you are expecting some answer. Ask because you really want to know what that people want to share with you. So I'm all the time asking things. So now I'm learning a lot from you guys. Thank you so much again. And when I'm learning, for example, when I go to ZoukNerds, sometimes I don't want to write something because I prefer learn, listen, and then observe that and try to create something new for their community, for example. Rather than, okay, I'm going to put here my thoughts because I want you to show them the right way. No, sometimes when I go there to share something, it's because I really want to share my experience, but I don't know how people will read that.
You can't control
That's why we really want to create this here. We want to talk. We want to see
and
listen people. So I think that's my advice. Keep looking for books, your roots. Ask yourself all the time, where am I going? For example, the first pillar for us is individual connection. The last pillar is the movement. It's when you are focused on the movement. So the last pillar for us, I used to start in this pillar. That was my baseline. Always the energy was going to the movement. I would talk to my friends to create movement, not to create community, not to create relation. So once you get strong at create connection with people, you are strong at create connection with your partner, and then you're gonna level up.
It depends what you want. If you want to travel once and win few Jack and Jills, or people like your video on Instagram, if you want that, it's okay. You can work on your dance and just that. If you want to stay here, if you want to work here for long time, first of all, it's a lifelong learning. And second, you have to work on many other things besides dancing.
For me, it's not okay. It's not okay. You have to look at yourself, no matter your goal, because you have to be in charge with people feeling.
Yeah.
You cannot just come here and I'm gonna shy, I'm gonna do this. No. You have to be in charge with the community.
Yeah. It should be, but it's our
That's the way that I do. That's the way that I do. And now I'm winning Jack and Jills, for example.
With that mentality.
With that mentality. We are building our career. We have our students. We have a lot of things, but sometimes it's gonna take more time because you are looking horizontal.
Yeah.
Rather than, again,
just
vertical.
One. Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think that's beautifully said. Honestly, I am sure that anyone who's been keeping up and listening to us and participating in ZoukNerds will also align with that mentality. And it's very inspiring to see that you guys can blend that so well. You know, being great teachers, being great dancers, being great community people. It's really, really hard to find that nowadays because, well, social media, it's nobody's fault. It's just social media. You know, short attention span, scroll, you know, flashing lights. And we're kind of programmed to want more and crave more sugar. You know, so the more we actually look inside and find our meaning, find the reason why we dance, to me, I can identify very much with what you guys said, is what took me to the next level. Whenever I feel like, I need the next level, I look inside. I really look inside because I'm craving something. I can't look outside to find out what's gonna please me. I need to look inside. So yeah, I absolutely love what you guys said. And with that in mind, very, very sadly, we will have to stop here today, but not because we want to. We absolutely would love to talk a lot more with you guys, and we hope to have you guys back another time in the future.
Sure thing.
We love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thanks so much for trusting us.
And thank you for what you were doing for the community.
Yes.
Yeah. And putting so much effort in that, and not only just here, but in everything you guys do. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for you guys who are listening this podcast, because thank you so much for embrace our culture.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
It means a lot for us.
All right, guys. So this is the end for today. Unfortunately, would like to once again thank our guests, Leandro and Nayara, for being here today. Thank you, guys. And our co-hosts, Gui and Adayl. We'll see you again in the next episode of ZoukNerds.
Bye, people.
Beijos. Abraços. Tchau.